Hi everyone, my name is Samantha, and this is my presentation on Merleau Ponty's Body and Beyond, Early Childhood Studies, Philosophical Empirical Inquiry, and Educational Research. And you'll find in this presentation that I'm just going to highlight a few important parts of the article and what really stood out to me. So, who is Maurice Merleau-Ponty? Well, he was born March 14th, 1908, and died May 4th, 1961 in Paris. I did find that he was pretty much unknown during the 20th century, but now considered a major European philosopher. So that's great. He is also a leading academic prominent of existentialism, and I'm going to script this word, I'm sorry, and a phenomenological philosopher, strongly influenced by Edmund Husserl and Martin Heidegger. So for me, I needed to do a little background on existentialism and phenomenology. And I found that existentialism is defined as a philosophical movement that stresses the individual's unique position as a self-determining agent responsible for making meaningful, authentic choices in a universe seen as purposeless or irrational. And phenomenology is the study of phenomena, appearances of things, or things as they appear in our experience. So pretty much the way we interpret how things mean to us in our experiences. So this gave me a little more background on Merleau and what he studied and what he believed in. Okay, so the article is based on some research done on a scenario. And the scenario, there's an encounter that happens between the educator and three children and the researcher. And in that encounter, they see it as a moment of wonder, or I believe it's actually stated as moments of wonder. And they use Merleau-Ponty's philosophy and expression to interpret what's happening in this moment of wonder. And Merleau-Ponty states that expression is not the intentional activity of disembodied minds or consciousness, rather the body, and in his later work, the flesh of the world becomes the medium of expression. And the way I really interpret that is that Merleau believed that expression is not intentional. It is an interaction between the body and the world. So the body, time, and space interplay together like an expressive language. And that's how I really took away from Merleau's philosophy on expression. So the article again consists of Sandy and Richie. They're already at the childcare center. They're playing in the kitchen dining area. There's the educator Rose. We have the researcher that's recording what's happening. Her name is Sheena. And then 10 minutes later, Amy arrives. And I just want to note because I have a little snippet of the scenario, but pretty much Amy gets to the child care center and she has been crying now for 24 minutes and her crying is moving to a really high intensity. And I'm just going to quickly go over what's happening in this scenario because it's in the article in more detail. So Rose picked up a piece of semi-opaque material identical to the one that Richie had been playing with. And Rose, again, is the educator. Richie's one of the children playing, and rubbed it over Amy's hands and body, moving it slowly upward towards Amy's face. Amy's the child that came and she was crying. With stroking movements, Rose gradually placed the material over Amy's head and body, and at the same time, Richie picked up his piece of material and sat underneath it. Sandy picked up one edge of Richie's material, climbed underneath, and sat next to him. The moment that Amy's head and body were fully underneath the material, she abruptly stopped crying and looked towards the other children. And I put right here, so what is happening here? We'll find out. So, what's happening is what the researchers call moments of wonder. And these are interruptions in the flow of things when something catches the attention and makes us think again and anew. And they're really looking at when Sheena found herself surprised and intrigued, and which opened up quite a different practice of inquiry. So Amy was crying. She put the material over Amy's head. She seen the other children, and she just abruptly stopped crying. And it was an interaction between the educator, the two children, or the three children, and they consider this to be a moment of wonder. Philosophical empirical inquiry, it seeks to combine explicitly philosophical exploration with fieldwork investigations, bringing together conceptual sophistication with empirical rigor. And when I was looking at the article and it was talking about philosophical empirical inquiry, they really got into Merleau, Ponty's philosophy on expression, and they said that expression has been described as a pivotal concept in Merleau-Ponty's philosophy, emerging over a considerable period of time with a complicated heritage. And they interpret this as expressive bodies, and how it's like a power or a force that's moving, that's causing this expression to happen. So it's like the body is moving to express itself in its own way, and that's why they use this reference expressive bodies, which I really love, because I feel like there's so many ways that we can express ourselves, especially young children. And I found this video on YouTube. So if you click on the link, hopefully you're able to watch it and it works. It's an early childhood educator that promotes role play using the body, the whole body, to express feelings. And I don't know about you, but when I was in placement, like we had to do 6 steps to problem solving and talk to the children and ask them why are they feeling this way and how are they feeling now and how is the other child feeling. And it's even though that's still good to recognize your feelings and be able to talk about it, we can also consider that we can use our bodies to express emotions, and our bodies can really express what we're feeling organically. And it's not that we're thinking about it and discussing it and going over what's happening in your mind. It just happens. It's happening in the moment. So I really love this video about using the whole body to express feelings. Participatory research. So I just want to go over this. The article states that the purpose of Sheena's visit was to generate data in interaction with Sandy. So Sandy is actually one of the children that was playing. So she was playing with Richie, and she was officially designated a participant in the study, and how Amy and Richie weren't awarded participatory status due to them being ineligible. And I don't really know what that criteria was, but it was supposed to be about Sandy. But when you go over the whole scenario, you see that even though the two children are playing together, Amy comes in and she's crying, and they're focused on her. The educator is just rubbing her head and rubbing her body, and they go under there, even though they're still in play, they go under the material. And when Amy goes under it, she just abruptly stops crying, and this is where this whole moment of wonder happens. And the real basis of this this research study with the children, and research into expression and research into moments of wonder, really came from that moment. And I thought about citizenship. What makes us a citizen? Our children considered a citizen? And even in this situation, are these children considered a citizen? Were they asked to be in this research? Were they asked how they felt? Were they asked, were they paying attention only to Sandy, but everyone and what was happening in that moment? So we really need to consider citizenship and our ideologies, because ideologies do impact, the way we view what's happening and the way we view others. And when you think about research on children, and if children are competent and capable and full of possibilities, they should have a say in it as well. And they should be able to express what's happening. And I understand that it was basically, Sandy was awarded this to be in this participatory research. We have to consider the other children and everyone that's involved and how ideologies play a role in that. So I thought about our other philosophers, Freire and Dewey. They both have, different philosophies, but when you really think about it, they're really into this, type of collaborative learning where everyone is learning together. And I really thought about this moment of wonder and how everything plays into this moment of wonder. And we can't forget about our other philosophers here, Freire, and his concept on dialogue and how it presupposes equality amongst other participants. Each must trust the others. There must be mutual respect and love and commitment. And you can think about even Dewey, and students must adapt to their environment in order to learn. And so different philosophers would have such different views on what's happening and on these moments of wonder, but it's always good to look at what's happening, even in research, from other perspectives. And I just want to end my presentation here with Merleau's philosophy and expression. And he states that expression is a master term for a creative, productive, cognitive power, a power that is rooted in the excess of embodied life. And I really thought about this time where I went on a walk with my cousin's twins. And on that walk, I saw a whole bunch of snails. And I was holding the hand of one of the twins. So I stopped him and I said, look at the snails. And he stopped and he's looking at the snails. And I picked up one of the snails on a leaf and I put it in his hand. I opened his hands and I put the snail in his hand on the leaf. And he stood there for like 5 minutes, like so in awe of this snail. He wanted to take it home with him. We weren't doing that, but he was just so in awe. And it just brought me back to how important expression is. And I didn't think anything of it, but when I read this article and, expressive bodies and how expression is not only just language and us speaking it and saying it, it can be the whole body. And like he stopped and he was just in awe. And his body was so still. He's a 2-year-old, so they move a lot. And his whole body was just into this moment of him and the snail. And it was just him and the snail in that time and moment. So, going forward, we really have to be aware of these moments, especially in our field, and really consider all these different philosophies and how they play such a major role on early childhood education. So that's the end of my PowerPoint, and I will post my questions. Thank you so much.